Hello. Okay, so we were in a bit of a non-standard place this time for reasons. Just here looking at my computer. I'm going to pull the chapter up. Sorry for the lateness again. Things have just gotten in the way of me doing these recently. I went on a trip to Las Vegas while the chapter was coming out. After that, I got really sick, and after that, my friend started staying with me, so I couldn't use my normal living room spot. That's the reason. Not that I'm mad. He's staying with me until we can find a house. So, let's open Discord here. Share this bad boy out. And we'll get to reading whenever some people pop in. No thumbnail yet for this video. I do want to make one. Probably while reading this chapter. I'll just take a screenshot. Justice Game, hey, what's up? Sorry for another late stream this month. But as long as the chapter is not completely boring, I probably will do one. None of them have really been boring. There was one that didn't really advance things along that much, and I didn't do a stream that much. But yeah, we'll wait for a couple other people to come. Yeah, I've had a busy few weeks. I went to Las Vegas on a trip. It was really fun. I did some gambling. Yeah, I haven't. I've switched to using the webcam microphone, which is not quite as good in quality, but as long as I don't speak too fast, it's usually pretty good. I might get a nice mic, another one that works at some point, but I don't know when that would be. And we're just waiting to see if people will come in. I had a few people that wanted to be here. It's nice that we usually get a good number of people every month now. It went well. The gambling went well. I just about broke even, maybe even a little more than that. Thanks to some, I found a good slot machine that seemed to me to have better odds than the rest of them, and I did pretty well on that. So that's how I got most of the money I spent on other stuff was through that. So yeah, it was really fun. I got to try pretty much everything I wanted to try. And aside from that, I've been playing a ton of Zelda, as have a lot of people. That's been great. It's been crazy. There's nothing else quite like it. Nintendo is just kind of incredible with how they develop games and the level of polish that they have. I'm a big Nintendo fan. I tend to like Mario more than Zelda, but I mean, this game is just a huge achievement in the kind of freedom that you can have in a video game while still making it fun and not just a sandbox where it feels like you can do absolutely anything. It almost feels that way I think if they gave you slightly more freedom, they'd find it very hard to design puzzles because you would just be able to do anything that you want. But yeah, at the point it's at, it's good. I'm not quite done with the story yet, so no spoilers, please. Oh yeah, Majora's Mask. Yeah, that would have been a tough game for me if I played that as a kid too. I played that a few years ago and beat it. That's a great game. One of my favorite Zelda games, along with Wind Waker, probably is my favorite. So we're gonna wait a couple more minutes here for more people to come in. And we'll get into the chapter. They just announced some new merch today. They're just like little figures, but still pretty exciting. The merch keeps coming. They're little tiny, not really even figures, but still it's a great thing. The pop-up shop, I don't know if it's still open. If it's not open now, it's going to be open later. In another location, I know is what they're planning, so. Link to the Past. I haven't played Link to the Past. I played more 3D than 2D Zelda. I do plan to play Link to the Past. I have it through Switch Online, so I will get to that at some point. Okay, we'll get into it. Sure. Oh, hey, Royal Ghost, what's up? What's up? Welcome. Yeah, we're about to get started. So we have some good people here. Do you ever think that they will try to make the Mario movie into a game? Hard to say. The time to put that out would have been when the movie came out, not after. But given how long Nintendo takes on things, it's possible that one could still be in production. I have a feeling they're not doing it. I have a feeling it's going to be a completely new Mario game, probably bigger than any that we've ever seen before. And I can't wait because I love Mario. Okay, let's get into this chapter. Chapter 13, Zatch Bell 2. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. So, Kyo and Zatch flying on a plane again. It's revealed that, unfortunately, Kanchime and Fulgore kind of conked out after their fight, and so will not be present to help for this one. Probably for the better, because their new spell was pretty dang strong, maybe too strong. It's good to have maybe another fight without them, see how Zatch can handle things on his own, or will he be on his own? We will see. So it's been a day since the book came to them for help. They arrive at they don't arrive at a Megumi concert. Someone arrives at a Megumi concert at a concert hall very similar to one in real life in Osaka, apparently. And we get sort of a full-page poster for this Megumi Spiritoso live tour in 4 cities in Japan. Features a nice picture of Megumi with a microphone. She's still doing her thing, still touring. We have our 2 famous singers in the group who we're both doing concerts when we see them, or Megumi is going to be doing one soon. And we have our villains arriving. including one whose face was not revealed last chapter, but looks just about how we thought she would look. And I don't know if I want to read all the dialogue in this chapter. There's definitely some dialogue I do want to read. Our other character, villain character, who seems to be the warrior, has a very distinct expression on their face. We see they have the planet thing on their chest. So this strange old woman walks up to the security guard and says, "Tell us, where is the one called Megumi?" And the security guard says, "Well, the live concert starts tomorrow." What I meant to say was, where is Megumi right now? And she continues to not get an answer. The guy asks her, "Are you a relative of Megumi-san or something?" And she says, "I am a witch. Can't you tell by how I look?" Well, as a security guard, I don't know anything about the hotel Megumi-san is staying at. And if I did know, I certainly wouldn't be telling any witches. And that leaves the witch very dejected. And this is our introduction to a character that we can only call the witch for now, or just witch. We don't know if she has a name. We don't know anything about her other than that she is a witch and she enjoys being a witch. She looks like the classical interpretation of a witch. Like I said, I was thinking her face might be something different because they didn't show it last chapter. But no, she looks like a witch, warts and all, as the expression goes. And while she's sitting there depressed on the stairs, her partner says they'll come back tomorrow and says it was the books that have done all this. The book brought that guy back from the dead. I believe we're talking about Zatch. Welcome, Zatch Bell Gamer. And he says, maybe we should get a little creative. And this is revealed to be not at this moment, but the prince that the witch mentioned last chapter is this villain right here, this guy. So they're in a hotel room. The witch is watching TV, enjoying herself. I think she's she's eating some cup noodles, I believe. The next night, great, she's back. The witch is at it again. They're sold out. Witch once again dejected, walking past all the fans. Everybody's excited. She goes and sits on the stairs. And she writes a poem, an evil poem. On the blackest night, bereft of light and darkness, the darkness is me. Their joy is found over there, yet I am left over here. As the cold wind blows on this most dreary of days. Signed, the witch. Once again, looking very dejected, classic Raikou expression there. Yeah, it's a pretty evil poem, right? I don't know. It's a poem written by an evil person. It's a dark poem. And then her partner looks over and sees Zatch and Kyo trying to get tickets too. As Kyo is saying, it's an emergency. And he immediately notices and yells, if it isn't the king of the demon world, Gash Bell. Not how he would sound, but I don't know what voice he would have. And we're getting started, already sort of showing us what type of character this is. A character he does not care about subtlety, and he will say what he feels. He correctly guesses that the spell book is floating by them is Tia's. It flies up and tries to get into the concert venue. The villain says, the witch and I are more than prepared. And the witch casts Ganyuga, one of Fango's spells. You can see a little satellite in the jar. This creates a big wall of flame around the entire concert venue. Pretty complex wall of flame. It has like a bunch of lines, stars, lines connecting it. There's stars, you can see. There's a lot of stars that make up the lines, basically. It covers the entire venue. The spellbook stops right in front of it. Can't get in. I had the witch drop a magic circle around this venue yesterday. So this is another application of the sorcery that we're seeing. It's not all in the moment stuff. And it's not a spell either. It is utilizing the magic element. Actually, it is a spell, come to think of it. But it's an application of a spell. She says the spell, but it's using the spell in a slightly different way, presumably, than whatever was intended. Gadyuga sounds like an attack spell. So clearly they were able to use a magic circle, which is similar, presumably, to the sort of circles that they make with hand signs whenever they're using the sort of unleashed form of the magic. Yeah, you're right. We've seen slightly different forms of it with each of these villain groups, where Boo used talismans, which he still used the hand signs, didn't he? But he still had a slightly different way of doing things. This building has been coated by a thin layer of flame that should keep the book from getting anywhere near Megumi on its own. No one seems to notice inside, at least as of yet, that this flame barrier is outside. Prince Pola is quite clever, isn't he? I am the witch of which he speaks. That magic circle was all my design. And I ain't talking about the witch from Mercury. I'm old enough to be your great-grandma. Kyo says, did she watch some anime as soon as she got to Japan in the human world? And yes, apparently we saw her watching anime last night. And she picked up on that, and she said, hey, he's gonna get what I'm referencing here. This has caused quite a bit of discussion among readers of the chapter for being sort of a weird timeline discrepancy. I think he's a mecha fan. We know this. I'm sure he watches Gundam. I'm sure he wrote this in, not really thinking like, oh, that show probably wouldn't have been on whenever this takes place. Yeah, thanks for the comments on the voice. I was looking forward to doing it. I forget how much dialogue she has in the rest of the chapter, but I got some good stuff in. So that's pretty great. That's some really good comedy. And there's some, I would say, some pretty meta stuff in this chapter, not just like referencing shows in the real world, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Okay. I almost feel sorry for you. You're staring down the most immaculate witch from every angle. And you know what that means. The final boss has entered the scene. Of course, they immediately cast a care on the witch, electrocuting her. Yeah! You can see her skeleton, which I think is pretty rare for people electrocuted with Zakare. And yes, that could also be possible, Zatchbell Gamer, that Raikou is just saying, I'm going to write it so it takes place now, even though the years don't line up. Why not? That's just what I want to do. But yeah, I don't think he draws the skeletons very much when they get electrocuted with Zakare. And then we get something really great from Kyo, where Zatch says, Kiyomaru, you're still as brutal as ever. And Kyo says, don't worry, I only did it for the joke. Which is, once again, like, that's a very meta thing in this chapter of like acknowledging that that's like a bit and that it's funny to do that right after the villain says something. So that's to say he only did it for the joke. Like, no, I'm not actually that mean. It's just funny. Okay. It's just funny to do that. The witch gets back up. Now you've done it. Look deep into my eyes, won't you? Oh. Have you had enough of my sorrowful stare? So, this is another meta moment of Raikou having now the villain basically call out what her bit is. And she's been doing it the whole chapter. She's been doing, this dejected look on her face. And now she says, almost using it as a form of attack. Look at me. Look how you've hurt me. Look at my sorrowful stare. Look deep into my eyes. And don't you feel bad? So it's another meta moment in this chapter concerning the comedy. So Pola, we know, Prince Pola, says, what is your name? What the hell was with that feeble attack just now? And once again, we're getting more conversation about how to joke. The witch once more has the sorrowful stare. Pola's really asking Kyo, why was the attack so weak? He says, it was just a joke. We need to just, it was a gag. It was a bit. It was funny. It's not a real attack. You're the ones who battled Wig, aren't you? He and I may have had the same objective, but he hadn't an ounce of civility. That lunatic was nothing more than a barbarian who lived only for the thrill of the hunt. And he failed to realize that the only way to truly live is to dominate through violence. We get immediately transformation with some crazy armor for Pola. Pola's name is revealed in this chapter. The witch says it a few pages earlier, saying Prince Pola is clever when they cast the magic circle around the arena. And this is a really cool design. Both having a sort of monster design on top of this what you call like a glaive or something, which it looks alive. It has glowing eyes. But Pola also has an arm that is, instead of a hand, there's a sword with some symbols on it, and just some really coolly designed armor besides. It's a really great design. I've seen some people compare it to Clearnote's armor in his third form, which I love. Great armor in that. I don't know if I believe there's a connection between the villains and Clear. I know people have said that each of the villains resemble Clear in different ways. You could say that. I can't, definitively say against that. I don't have reason to believe it yet. I think it would be interesting. I really want to see Clear or even just White as himself have a role in this series. Her design screams Persona. Yeah, maybe. I've seen some Persona stuff. I don't play the games. So she slams the glaive down, knocking Kyo and Zatch back. People finally start noticing inside the arena. They don't even know. I guess they don't even know they're behind that shield. So we need to relocate to a place without any bystanders. Paul said that says that works in our favor as well. The more we rampage, the more curious onlookers will flock to the scene. If we don't keep moving, you'll never be willing to launch an attack. Don't really know what that means exactly. Does anyone know what that means? We don't keep moving. They want to keep moving so that they will be willing to launch an attack. But so she's basically agreeing with Kyo that they want to be alone so they can fight. But then she says he says, that the more we rampage, the more curious onlookers will flock to the scene. So he wants people to be around, right? I don't know if he wants people to be around or if he doesn't want people to be around. But Kyo says there's a baseball field right next door. We have to get there. Pola starts laughing. This is when we get one of the real great parts of the chapter right here. Pola's saying that he doesn't want onlookers to show up and slow down their battle because Kiyomaru will never attack if they're present. Okay. So he's saying the more we rampage isn't like a bad thing. I think, well, he likes rampaging, right? He probably wants to do that. But he's saying he doesn't. He doesn't want to continue rampaging as long as your people. Okay, fair enough. And Pola shouts to Zatch, Gashbel, the only thing you're the king of is being too late to save anyone. You've been on the losing side of this war ever since our invasion began. Don't forget, it was your ineptitude that caused the deaths of countless demons. The king of being too late really is a great fit for you. That must be quite the heavy cross to bear. Their blood is on your hands, isn't that right? Yet you still keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. You're about to lose yet another dear friend and suffer a scar upon your heart that you could never atone for. Zatch is clearly struck by this. The witch cast Orusuruto! And that imbues Pola with a burst of speed. This is a spell from Arth, our top 10 Momoto candidate. And along with that, we also see a few other spell elements in the bottle here, which seem pretty obviously to be Rodu, and then perhaps a ground or rock-based type, which we can't really tell exactly what it is. It could be sand, Did we have a sand Mamoto? Was Dalmos a sand Mamoto? Not really, not particularly, was he? But Eshros was a ground Mamoto, right? And then we also had a rock Mamoto, which what's the dog's? Gofure, which Gofure sort of had, but then he also had transformative powers, which is what Levi used, which is different. Who else had rock? Did we have another villain that had rock? Because Eshros was specifically ground, because a lot of his spells had ground in them. And he used clay, he used kind of sand, multiple things. So Uru Soruto, was that a spell that Arth had in the original series? I actually haven't checked it. I should check this before now. Yes, it was. He did have it. Just a spell that gives him a burst of speed. And so Pola's using that now. Yeah, Dogmos was ground. Okay. So I was right, pretty much. Well, I said Dogmos was sand, but yeah. The Gofure was rock. So Zatch is blocking. Seems like Pola gets Zatch is fast, but Pola gets a good hit in on him for sure against. I don't know exactly how he's blocking that. If he's holding, I think he's holding his cloak, his mantle up. You can see there's something black after his hand, or blue, that blocks the sword. But it still knocks him back. Ha ha ha! I slipped through and made an opening. Good thing it didn't lead straight through your neck. Is what I told you starting to sink in yet? That vermilion book will never reach its owner. And as for the demon who is in desperate need of Megumi Umi and that book, before long, she'll be doomed to oblivion. Very dark, shadowy face. Pola is clearly getting to Zatch here with his taunting. Some people have said, is Raikou trying to recharacterize Zatch as an inept king? Of course not. Of course not. I'm sure Zatch, we don't know what happened when the invaders attacked. I'm sure Zatch did absolutely everything he could, right down to sacrificing his life to save demons who had already been killed. So I'm sure while he was alive, before he did that, he would have put his life on the line as well. If it was too late, would have been because they didn't see the invasion coming. But Zatch is still pretty young, or he still acts pretty young. The words are getting to him for now. I'm sure someone will give him a pep talk next chapter. Probably Kyo, but who knows? Zatchable Gamer says, I need to adjust the dominate through violence thing because what Polo clearly means is to not rampage at brute strength, instead to break his opponent's mind, body, and soul. Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I read this page and I thought, are we going to get a transition to Tia now, finally, at long last? Because I know a lot of people probably are reading this chapter going, God damn it, this is interesting. I want to get back to Tia. I know that this chapter has not been super well received among some fans compared to others, and I think this might be a big reason why, is because it didn't have quite as much Tia as they wanted, but we are getting some Tia. Immediately, we're getting some Tia. And we are seeing the troops of the enemy break through into this temple with a battering ram, which does look like one of Marusa's spells, as you said, Justin's game. Though I guess you did not think that it was, if you were saying that you were hoping to see one of the spells. Take a little drink here. They burst through. They broke through. They're coming. We got this big 8-man Mamoto with a wooden spike club fighting some of these troops who they do pretty well against him. This reminds me a bit of Animal Land, all the random animal peeps banding together to fight. The battering ram is definitely based on Marusa's Garan. Yeah, it definitely looks like it, for sure. Our other villain says, ha 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 ha. Very good. You're putting up a real fight, aren't you? That's just what I like to see. What was this guy's name? It was a pretty normal name, right? It was like a human name, like Gunther or something. At least that was how you translated it. Something like that. Yeah. Anyone think it's a little off that Tia isn't wearing her brooch? I don't know. She's she's had to run into this cave. She might not have had time to put it on. And she's been training, getting, all sweaty and stuff. Maybe she wanted to take it off because that too. We'll probably see her with it at some point. Günther. Oh, okay, so it's like the Icelandic or Eastern European pronunciation. Got it. Number 5. And that's this big beast behind him that looks like a Dark Souls boss, apparently called Number 5. That, of course, begs the question, are there other numbers? Are there ones under 5? Are there ones over 5? Will we see them? It would be cool if we did. But once again, we're seeing an example of the villains having sort of different themes and different abilities based around their use of the Moto spells. Günther sort of seems a bit like a Dr. Frankenstein, kind of, creating these beasts in some way and augmenting them and changing the way they use their spells. And sort of in keeping with that, the spells that this number 5 uses are more mechanical in nature. So this is not a spell. Number 5 just undoes the thing on his back and takes out a big hand cannon, which is a little similar to sort of just like a propulsive force cannon, similar to one of Demolt's spells. And he bashes that gorilla guy with it. Takes the other guys out, punches them. I think he actually punches them. No, it's the same device. Günther is holding on to the chain attached to this thing's head, if you can call it a head, this whole time. But before they can do the finisher, this little Momoto kid goes, "Daddy!" The tiger. Tia blocks it with a handheld shield. No spell required. Boom. Big impact, clearly. Blocked successfully. Tia is here to defend and ensure everyone's tomorrow, like she said. The kid is very happy. Tia Oni-chan! The troops are trying to attack. Can't get through the shield. But it's not just a shield. It's also a weapon. Tia slams it down on these guys. There is something. Did she cut one in half? I'm kind of trying to see. There's like a. She is cutting them up a little bit, or that's just like part of her armor. You see, like the big. It looks like there's like spikes and a big like pattern. There's a pattern in it that just kind of like a crosshatch pattern. I don't know what that is. Is it a weapon? Is it supposed to? It might just be like supposed to be like a chainmail skirt that the guy is wearing, like some kind of some kind of skirt armor, and he's just falling down. It kind of looks like he's getting cut in half. I don't know if Tia would do that. Who's next? Come on. Who's next? Well, we'll see. Yaha! Just what I'd expect from one of the final 10 survivors of the battle to decide the king. You're super strong, even without any magic to back you up. You'll make for the perfect test subject. Doriamu Zegaron. So it's pretty obvious immediately who this spell is from. Not just from the symbol in the jar, but also just from the way the spell looks. It's this weird, complex, mechanical thing. This is a spell from Kid. Some people's favorite character. Favorite book burning for many people. It's a very complicated spell, perhaps too complicated. That's fun about it. It has a winch that's turned. And then the thing, I think, moves from the front of... Does it move from the front of his arm? And then goes around. And then it stops or something. And then it fires off again. I guess because it starts on the front of his arm, but I guess it moves back. And then when it launches, does it go through that again in reverse to then launch off? It's a little hard to tell. Yeah, Zagar was only ever used for kids spells. Yeah. You also confirmed that you think that's chainmail. So yeah, I guess it is. Weird texture for that, but launches this big spike out. I don't know if this is a general spell for you can launch anything. And he's launching the spike things. or if that's what it would happen if Kiddo used it as well. So he has the spell vials as almost like a part of him, like some sort of robot, and they come out when he's going to use a spell. So it slams it. It probably would be a projectile if you let it fly like that, but he just uses the force to slam into Tia's shield. Does it a few times, continues using them until he runs out, uses all 3 of them, of the metal projectiles. He's already getting bloody just from the force of the impact. The final one breaks the shield. He's getting very bloody now. She jumps back and grabs another bigger shield. This one is clearly not really a weapon. This is just a shield. Big metal, little like Masa's shield. She says, I'm not out yet. Gunther says, okay, next, Gigano Ra Ba Deradum. And this is a crazy spell, because this is a big cannon that appears on this guy, number 5. And it looks a little like Clear's cannon spell, small version, but it's a Radon spell, which is Zophis' spell. And the icon looks a little like Zophis' explosion. I did not expect to see a Zophis spell so soon. Crazy looking spell. Can't really imagine Zophis using it. But this guy's a little like Zophis, so it kind of makes sense that he would have it. Doriamu is tricky to figure out. What I'm seeing is that it has a winch, like you said, and it has a kind of track that moves a hammer over to the front. But it doesn't, it starts in the front too, right? That's what I'm confused about, is that it kind of seems to move back like it's building the force up, and then maybe it launches it back over the same track is kind of what I'm thinking. Justin's Game says, I thought of something. If they want the final 10, doesn't that mean they want Clear, who is reincarnated as White? Yeah, that's an easy way that they could introduce White into this story. They should want him if he is still around. They totally should want him. I think it is somewhat conspicuous that I don't believe Clear or White has been mentioned in the story yet, right? Raiku's found time to mention several little things or side characters. They have not been mentioned yet. Might be something. I don't know. But we have this big cannon spell. Huge. Looks very dangerous. Looks like it has exhaust ports on the back for exhaust. There's also sort of a trigger on one side of it. It looks kind of like a firing pin, or I don't know what you call, not a fire. I don't know what the hell you would call it. I don't know guns, but I don't know what it would be for, if anything. But it's there. Got three big barrels. Kids are scared. Adults are scared, crying. Tia says, "Bring it on." Now we go back to Zatch and Pola. Does look like here's cannon spell, yeah. Right, the first and final spell that Tia defended against ZB1, Biuchi confronts her in her turn. That is a good point. I did not think of that. You could definitely say that's true. We'll see if this spell, yeah, I mean, it's just a cannon, I would assume. All of Zophis' spells were just explosions. So yeah, I didn't think about that. If someone is reincarnated, does that mean they have the same spells? Yeah, Justin, that's obviously something I've wondered about White since the original series came out. I kind of doubt it. I think Clear's Annihilation is sort of an evil, very evil spell attribute, and White is supposed to be more pure. But yeah, that's a really cool callback if that's intentional, which it definitely seems like it could be. Oh, the Ra-Ba on the spell might be intended to be lava. That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that. So Pola's laughing. Still taunting Zatch. Belial provided me with the best entertainment I could possibly hope for. Gosh, Bell. You can't even save the remaining friends you have left. You truly are the king of being too late. Let all your past failures wreak havoc upon your soul and die in disgrace as he rushes at Zatch. Very distressed. What's going to happen, guys? We don't know. Will Zatch be okay? Some of Pola's lines here seem like they'd be good for the start of a trailer or commercial for this series. You hear the voiceovers, gosh, Bell. But, Meanwhile, inside Megumi's concert, no one knows there's a fire shield outside. Book's just waiting there. It's like, can I come in? Can I waiting? Kyo's actually gonna get this thing away. Megumi's doing a concert. All right, now that you're all fired up, let's move on to the next song of the night, Rainbow Shield. Yeah. And that is where we end the chapter for this month. Still this month. It's the 30th. Still got it in the month. And I actually like this chapter a lot. Some people didn't like it so much. I think it showed a lot. I really wanted to see two fights going on at the same time. That's exactly what we got. We got Pola and the Witch versus Zatch and Kyo. We got Tia versus Gunter and number 5. I still wonder if Tia might have another friend in there with her, who's maybe cowering, hiding, or otherwise waiting to come in at some time and help. Maybe not. Pola was wildly sadistic, calling him the king of being too late is obviously a tactic to throw him off his game. Totally. And we know it's not true. Not our king. Someone said somewhere that Pola might actually be projecting his favors as a noble in a past life onto Gash. Ooh, right. Could be if he's Prince Pola. Yeah, I can't wait to get into Pola's, what his deal is. I think we're gonna get into all these people's deals at least a little bit. Pola ain't gonna turn he ain't gonna be as nice as Levy was after they beat him. Gunter, I don't know if we will learn about. He's like a mad scientist, Dr. Frankenstein type guy. That's kind of all you need to know. I do hope we see more of his dudes though. Zatchable Gamer says, and then there's that hype theory that Gash might unlock the dragon from the Volume 1 cover as a result of Pola's provocations. Is that theory anything more than what you just said, or is there a little more to it? I want to see that dragon a lot, obviously. But I think it's going to be unlocked, and I've said this before, through Kyo trying to make use of the same sorcery that the enemies are using. That's what I think. I'm not the biggest fan of this chapter. I wish they showed a bit more of Megumi, but I'm pretty sure she will notice the fight at some point. Oh, yes. We've all read a lot of Raikou at this point. We've all read Zatch Bell. Many of us have read Animal Land. Some of us have read other stuff. And I think I have a pretty good idea of how he writes and what kind of stuff he likes to do. And I said pretty soon after this chapter came out that I think Megumi is going to notice what happens, and she's going to walk out through the fire to help Tia in a very brave move. I think the fire it's fire. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, it's just because it's magical fire doesn't mean it's 10 times hotter or anything. It's still fire. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's a very Raikou thing to do. I think that it'll probably mess Megumi up a little bit, but then I think having the spell. Here's the version of events that I would like the most. Okay. We start next chapter going back to Tia versus Gunter. Tia beats them, but is killed in the process. It'd be pretty crazy to see in Zatch Bell. She's killed in the process, mortally wounded, maybe. And she's dying, but she saved everyone. She beats Gunter, probably beats number 5. Gunter's like, oh shit, I gotta go. Floats away. I gotta go get number 6. So she's dying on the ground. Then we cut back to Zatch and them fighting, continuing to fight, maybe coming up with some good tactics, as they do, but not really particularly winning. And they do something, or Megumi notices on her own, they do something to alert Megumi during the concert. Megumi notices. She rushes to the barrier. Now, Kyo and Zatch might not be close by anymore. We don't know if they can tell Megumi what's going on, but Megumi would know what's going on. The book would probably float right down to her if she came by the barrier. She'd go, I know what I need to do. I got to get this book. I got to walk through this fire. She's going to walk through the fire. At that exact moment, she's going to walk through the fire, grab the book, fall to the ground, very hurt, obviously. But she's going to be able to use a spell, which might be Saifojo, but no, it is going to be Saifojo because that's what's in the book, right? It's in the book already. The enemies didn't take it. We got it back from them. She's going to say Saifojo. She doesn't exactly know what's going to happen. Back in the human world, Tia's dying, but she knows that the spell's been cast somehow. She goes, it's okay, everybody. I'm going to be back. I'm okay. I see the human world. I'm going to go to the human world. They're like, what are you talking about? She dies in the demon world, immediately gets reincarnated in the homunculus, or whatever you want to call it, the body, in the human world. The one problem with that is because Leve seemed to heavily imply that Saifojo's spell can't work on its caster. Possibly, yeah, maybe that's true. We never knew, but I guess we may find out for sure. Maybe it's a stronger version, right? We've historically seen Momoto, once they have their own spells, being able to use them way better than the other guys. We saw this with Zakaruga. What might happen is Kiyomaru used the Saifojo from the bottle on Megumi itself. Did they not put the Saifojo in the book already to turn it into Tia's book? Is that not what happened already? Didn't they do that last chapter? In any case, finish what I was saying. That's what happens. Tia dies in the demon world, immediately comes to the human world, somehow is close by. That I have not figured out in this scenario. And is able to use Saifojo to heal Megumi's wounds and join the fight. That's my preferred version of events. I think whatever Raikou does is going to be good, because I think he's leading up. There's a few things he set up, like you said, that is what happened. That Saifojo is in the book. Right now, the only spell we know. It's a bit of a Chekhov's gun. Feels like it's got to be used at some point, again, by the good guys during this fight. And I think that Tia may just be strong enough to use it on Megumi. They can do what they did in Gashbel Gaiden, where Kiyomaru was able to cast a spell from the human world. That could be possible. It's not impossible. I think it might feel a little cheap. The Gaiden was a very specific thing that was like, it's like celebrating the friendship of Kyo and Zatch, you know what I mean? So it's like celebrating their bond. It's like Kyo's always there for him. Yeah. And that's, kind of why that happened at the end. I kind of wonder if seeing it in like now a normal series and not like this special chapter might feel a little cheap. The books also might just be busy. There aren't that many of them left. That's what I hope to happen, but I'm sure Raikou will satisfy whatever he does. So let's talk about the song a little bit, because there's been a little speculation on that. Satchel Gamer says this Rainbow Shield song might transcend worlds like in Gaiden, especially if Megumi includes her spell names in the song and shouts them. Now that's a theory I have seen. I don't know if you came up with that, Satchel Gamer, or if it was someone else. Not to slight you, I'm just wondering. But it's a pretty good theory and a pretty crazy theory that's certainly very possible and would be really fun. If Megumi is singing a song and she is close enough to the spell book that the spell book can hear the spells, do the book owners need to be touching the books to cast spells? What about that? Do we know that? But it is a really fun theory, and I certainly wouldn't complain if it did happen. It certainly seems, given that it's the last page of the chapter, that the song could be important. May just be important for emotional reasons. It clearly will be a song about Megumi and Tia, but it might not specifically have spell names in it or specifically say, Tia, you're my best friend that I ever had, and I miss you. It's more of a general friendship song about friendship and love and the power to shield people. Would she have to use heart power for that to work, even if she's not touching the book? Well, yeah, I think heart power is... we don't know if heart power is necessarily something that you have to focus on to use and say, I'm going to be using heart power right now. I think you could do it without really knowing it. Might work like how Ted did for Cherish. What did Ted do for Cherish? Like when him and the kids came to her, and that was more in her mind, I think. What are you talking about? I like that there's so much that could happen. This is the kind of speculation I enjoy, where it's a speculation on events that are right after this, where you have a lot of information to draw from, where there's nothing, there's a lot of different possibilities that, importantly, all seem plausible. I don't really like pie in the sky stuff that's predicting the end of the series and whatnot. I've said certain things I would like to happen. I would love to see a large scale battle in the Momoto world, for one, Lord of the Rings style, maybe. But the kind of speculation I generally enjoy the most is what is on the next chapter? What are you looking forward to right now? And what can we easily predict? Like, talking about immediately what Momoto is going to be next is also something I find interesting, because now we have a pattern of, it's the main four up to now: Kyo, Contra, Mei-T, in the exact order they were introduced in the original series. Maybe Raikou will throw a curveball and do something else, and maybe he'll start introducing two at once. We don't really know. So that's interesting to think about too. Tio might see a projection of Megumi's soul or something, that's all, but it's enough to really get her into gear. Was that in her mind? I'm pretty sure that was a kiddo moment. I don't know. Totally up to the... I think it's a little up to interpretation. I have no idea. This vision she saw in her heart. I'm not ready for Vokalumagon. No, I don't think anyone is. There's a lot of discussion about it. The power of speech, probably looking like just a real horse. I think it's going to be really cool. Very interesting. I think it's going to be awesome to see Zatch riding him as the king on Pony, on his friend, not just a steed, mind you, but his friend and partner, Umagon. It's going to be really cool to see. Whatever. I can't wait for what sequence they use that into, because it's going to be probably going to be a cool sequence. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to next chapter. I like Gunter. I like number 5. I like their whole weird thing going on. But Pola is also super cool. I think the character's made a big impression, not just because of the androgyny, but also because just like right out of the gate, he is just like so mean. He's just like such a bastard. But he's not like a sorry about that. He's not just like a I like causing destruction bastard. He's like, I like causing pain to people, and the people that I don't like and the people I'm fighting. So I think it's a character that really makes an impression. And I think that if this is the form we're seeing right now with this cool armor, and I hope he continues using the glaive thing, then hopefully he has more that he can do. And other cool, he's going to use, obviously, presumably some other cool spells, but if they decide to go nuts like the other enemies did and sacrifice somebody, which I don't know if that'll happen with Pola. I don't know if Pola is really the type to do that. Pola might be the type to be very sad about having to retreat, but still logically doing it and taking the witch with him. We did see Ponygon in a suit. I don't remember that. I think I kind of do. Some weird thing him and Zatch were doing. You think he'll still want to be called by his real name? Yeah, that's unlikely. I think he's okay with Ponygon now. I think there might be a reference that they know his real name now. I believe they do. Wasn't that shown in the guide end that they do know his name is Schneider? But I think he's going to be fine being called Umagon or Ponygon. But I don't think he's going to be very humanoid anymore. I think he's going to be much more like a horse. It's going to be funny. Like, that's part of what's funny, is that it's not just that it's a character we know as looking and sounding different, but it's also just going to be funny to have one of your characters basically just be a talking horse now. Like, Ponygon did not have many distinctive features on his body, aside from, of course, when he was using his spells. So presumably, most of the time, Ponygon is just going to look like a talking horse with a weird snout. I don't know. It's going to be funny. Beyond that, what is there? We've already speculated a lot pretty quickly. I hope I was not talking too quickly for the webcam mic to pick it up. I'm sorry if I was, for anyone that watches this back later. I get excited. It happens. A lot to look forward to. We're in another arc now, and I think it's going to be really cool to see how these two fights connect, which we know they will. That's the one thing I think that everyone can agree on. That they will connect, and whether that will be a spiritual connection that lets Megumi and Tia interact across worlds without actually meeting, or whether Tia is going to be brought to the human world somehow, which is what I lean towards, even if it's not going to happen in exactly the way I said. Wasn't he supposed to have some weird accessories like a mushroom or leaves on his head? Then Raikou scrapped the idea. Yeah, he used to have different ears. Really, I don't know if I ever saw that. Kanchime became a Candyland figurine. So nothing can prepare me for talking Horse Humagon. Yeah, we can prepare as much as we can try to prepare. It's not going to be enough. Not going to be enough. I don't know what else could possibly meet that level. You know, I think Brago with a beard would be pretty funny. A pretty funny possibility. I think handsome Kiddo could happen. Or handsome Purio. It's going to be one of the two. Purio, I hope, continues the Leonardo DiCaprio connection, and like, I don't know what. I guess the most likely thing for Raikou to do concerning that. And so he gave Purio a mustache in his second appearance to resemble Gangs of New York, the movie that Leo was in. Which I don't necessarily know if that was supposed to replicate Leo's look in that movie, but maybe more Daniel Day-Lewis's look, who was the one that had an exaggerated mustache in that movie. If he was going to do more stuff in that vein, I suppose it would probably reference Wolf of Wall Street, which is Leo's biggest movie in the past decade. I believe it came out almost exactly a decade ago. So I guess Purio would be at least wearing a suit and probably acting pretty crazy. Beyond that, I don't know. The references were never too much. They were never too deep, but it was always something that was there, which I did not really notice until a couple years ago. Justin's Game says, was it ever confirmed yet that those Zatch Bill artworks you found were official? Zatch Bill Gamer responds correctly, not confirmed at all. We don't know what it was. It looked a lot like it was a scrap project, but never give up hope. Yeah, that art was super cool, and the video got a great response from my channel compared to other stuff on my channel. I was really happy with it. Got a lot of comments. Was really glad about that. I would like to do more videos like that if I have a reason. But no, we don't know anything more about them. They did not set off any alarm bells for Raikou or anyone knows. Some people have tried to ask. There's a member of the fandom named Majora Z. I forget if he's ever been in this stream. I don't think so. But he's a really cool, very knowledgeable guy. He has people that he knows he can kind of contact. And he's talked to people who have said they are who are like in the know about what the industry is and things like that, who are said they are pretty sure that they are real, just from looking at it. But we don't know what it was. It's been a long time since these were found, and the project could have been scrapped, but it's possible that the project could be revived or that a new project could happen. I mean, I think Zatch Bell Star continues to rise once again. We're shown by the new merch that was just announced like today, the little tiny figures. So that's super cool. Is there anything else before we wrap it up for today? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I hope to see some good fighting next chapter. I still don't know if we're going to see the new Bayo this fight. But, man, I hope we do. Pola's clearly going to be a pretty imposing enemy. I can't wait for that new Bayo, man. It's going to be something. And we're going to see, obviously, with sort of light confirmation of a Tia and Megumi volume cover for Volume 3. So what that's going to look like, it's hard to say. Will Raikou try to find some way to visually represent that they're going to be in different worlds for a lot of this fight? Will Tia be beaten and bruised and Megumi will be all nice and in a concert? I don't know how that's going to go. Will they display a spell of some sort, or will Tia's shield that she was just using be on there? Will it be Saifogio like it was in the original volume cover? Saifogio being, I think, a very iconic thing from the original story, the healing sword, one of the more iconic things, along with Bazookarga and the meme characters and the memes. One of the things that probably people in Japan who have not seen Zatch Bell could look at and go, "Oh, I know that. That's the thing from Zatch Bell." Definitely going to be a new song in the next chapter. Hope you do it justice with the localization. Yeah, I wish you luck on that. Tio looks taller than Gashimi. She definitely is. We're all playing Zelda right now, at least I think me and Justin's game are. And Link is a short guy too. So Zatch shouldn't let that get to him too much. They're both short blonde heroes. They're going to save the world multiple times. So yeah, next chapter should be in a couple weeks if nothing goes wrong. But one thing I do want to mention is that in a few days, give me 1 second. In a few days, this guy is going to be back. He's going to be doing his thing, rolling his Katamari around, because the remastered version of We Love Katamari, one of my favorite video games of all time, is dropping for PS5 and other systems, including Switch. Of course, I'm going to get it. I ordered it from Amazon. Hopefully, it comes soon after the release. And I'm going to be streaming that, probably the entire thing, because I played it a couple times already. One of my favorite games, better than the first one. Just in ways, it's just bigger. It's busier. Some of the level concepts are really fun. They're more themed levels. Story is really freaking funny. So that's going to be on Twitch. I believe. I don't think I can stream on YouTube. So yeah, I'll probably maybe make a little video about it, Justin, or I can link my Twitch in the description to this or something if you want to link to it for when I do that. So I don't know how you're gonna know, Justin. It's nice that you want to watch. I am on Twitter. I always link when my streams start there. That's I can link my Twitter as well if you want. But yeah, I'm really excited for that, to replay that and re-experience that. There's some new content. I don't think it's much, but it's such an incredible game. Such an incredible game. So keep an eye out for that in a few days. I believe it comes out on like the 6th, so like about a week from now. Maybe I'll be mostly done with Zelda by then. I do not know. Thanks for supporting the stream and all this stuff, Justin. Yeah, I know. It was nice streaming the original game with you there, Zatchable Game. I remember the squirrels. But I'm really excited for that. So I want to make sure to announce that here. It's going to be nice to get back into game streaming because I haven't done it much. There are a few games in the future I want to stream, like some Sherlock Holmes stuff, but I just need to beat other games before I get to those. So I'll just when I get to playing a game that I want to stream, I stream it. Issue is I have such a huge backlog. I can't backlog. I cannot get to those games. So that is the Twitter. Let me find the Twitch. I like her streaming right now. There it is. Okay. So I think that's all for this month. I'm glad I got it in under the wire at the end of the month. And really under the wire because it's about to, there are only 30 days in May. It's about to pass midnight here in my time zone. So really under the hour. If I let this stream go even a minute past midnight, I'm going to have to delete it. It's going to be totally useless. So I couldn't make it within the month, but I did. And we got some good discussion in. Very quick was what I found this stream. The discussion was really quick. Everyone was just thinking a lot. I guess we had time to think. Thank you again for the streams. You're welcome, and thank you for coming. It's been great. I mean, having people in the chat, 3 people around for the past like 3-4 months has been so cool. There's not You're right. There is 31. You're right. You're right. I thought of the whole. You know the little rhyme that they have to remember. I thought of that wrong. Made it. You're right. May's 31. Okay. But yeah, it's been great to see people in the chat every month. I know the setup isn't great. I'm usually looking down at the screen more than looking at the camera, and the glares in my eyes. But the discussion has always been the most important thing to me. Getting that out there and getting to hear ideas from you guys and getting to discuss those. And I think there's been a lot of that this month, and that was great. So thanks for watching. I'll be back next month because I'm sure next month's chapter is going to be good. I don't want to make it seem like if I don't like a chapter, I will not stream. I know I sort of implied that earlier. That's kind of dumb. I want to support Raikou overall and stream if I can, But yeah, thank you guys for coming. Zatch Gamer, Justice Game, Royal Ghost. Hope to see you guys again next month. Really excited. So I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching again, and have a good night.